Welcome back to another episode of the Hospitality Hacks Pro Show, where we talk about things in and around the culinary arts and hospitality industry, topics, news, interesting tidbits, tricks, hacks, if you will. And we also talk to interesting people in and around the industry. I have a couple of guests joining me today. You actually, folks, are going to get kind of a sneak peek into our calls that we have every week. Okay, current client. And I'll let her tell you about her business, little blurb, little free commercial, real quick. All right. And then my fellow consultant for Hospitality Hacks, you're going to get a little sneak peek into some of the things we talk about today. We're talking about food costing, culinary math. Don't let that word math scare you. It's not that hard. Culinary math is a little addition, a little subtraction, a fraction here or there. All right. But we don't have to measure the distance of the stars to the moon or from Earth. We don't have to measure any angles or any of that good stuff. Okay. So culinary math is pretty simple. First, I'm bringing on my fellow consultant and server restaurant expert extraordinaire. You've seen her
No,
before. My
doctor.
sister,
Here.
Cedrine Jocks. Say what's up to the people.
Hello, hello. I am Cedrine Jacques. I'm here. We ready.
You here? Let's get it. All right. Also joining the conversation, Shauna. What's up? Tell the people who you are. Tell them about your business real quick. 30-second commercial on the spot. Let's go.
Hey, how y'all doing? I'm Shauna. My business is Mouth from the South. It's small, unique. That's right about it, I guess.
Where can they find you if they want to come get some food?
Every weekend I'll be set up on 516 West Sugar Creek. That is
Yes.
like a Citgo gas station.
So if you are in the Charlotte area, check her out. Some tasty, delicious treats for you. Little lunch, little dinner action. She might tantalize you with a little breakfast one of these days too. I mean, because the skills abound. You know, we can do it all. We can do it all over here. All right. How can they follow you on social?
On Facebook, I'm at Mouth from the South. Also Instagram, Mouth underscore from underscore the South underscore on
Boom. There it
Instagram.
is. There it is. There it is. There it is. So let's jump straight into this conversation. Um, we're gonna talk culinary math today. Everyone's favorite topic is math. I know. Again, not super complicated once you understand the basics. So let's go over it really quick. I got a few slides. Let me see how many slides we got. Only 12. All right. So we got a few slides we're gonna go over. Can y'all see my screen?
Mhm.
All right. So our mission, what we're gonna walk through together, take a few minutes to walk through together, is if we were gonna sell brownies, let's say we're gonna have a bake sale. If we're gonna sell some brownies, how do we find the cost of one brownie? The cost of one brownie. So traditionally, you have a bake sale, you kind of just pick a number out of the sky. Like, yes, $1, $2, 250, 275. Well, what you got? Empty your pockets out. No, we don't want the ball of lint. What else you got? Right? We just pick a number, but you don't really know how much you make unless you know how much you have spent. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, I see a nod.
Yes,
I hear a yeah.
teacher. Yes,
All right,
teacher.
let's hit it. Let's hit it. So, when we say find the cost of a brownie, immediately what comes to mind? Like, where would you start?
The shopping
Cause I,
list.
I'm about
Shopping
to say the
list,
ingredient. Yeah.
ingredients, shopping list for sure, for sure. All right, and so I agree. Okay, but there's one little thing kind of in between or juxtaposed to that, and that's what we call the standardized recipe. A lot of times, independent chefs skip the standardized recipe when they're first getting started because they know they can cook and they just get in the kitchen and start whipping it up, right? But a standardized recipe has everything documented, all of your ingredients, okay, directions and how you incorporate those ingredients, in what order you incorporate those ingredients, step by step instructions. And when we say standardized, that means I can hand it off to anybody and they can go and make it for me. I don't have to do it. Okay. And so again, a lot of independent chefs are like, man, I've been making this for years. This mac and cheese, I've been doing, I could do this blindfolded, right? Yes, we know you can, but can somebody else do it with the same precision as you? And the answer is probably no, unless you have a standardized recipe. Okay. So before we get to costing anything, you have to have the recipe. You have to have the recipe. Okay. All right. So we're gonna look. This is a list of ingredients pulled off of just a random brownie recipe. Okay, it's not my personal recipe. People ask me all the time, like, why don't you do a recipe book and da 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 da. It's not my jam, right? But I do have a couple recipes, but this is
Mhm.
not one. This is not one of them. This is not one of them. But this is a good example. So this is a list of ingredients. All right. So we got some unsweetened chocolate, we got butter, we got eggs, we have sugar, vanilla extract, flour, baking soda. I like some nuts, walnuts,
Walnuts.
little razzle dazzle. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So another thing a standardized recipe will tell you also is the yields. Okay, the yields. And that's going to let you know how many servings that you get. The yield is right over here in yellow, which says what? How many brownies do we get from these ingredients?
96.
96.
96. Okay, so we can get 96 brownies from using these quantity of ingredients in this particular recipe. All right. So if we're going to break this thing down, okay, let's look back at this now. So so as you can see, the units of measure, when I say units of measure, what does that mean to you?
The pound,
Yep, exactly.
teaspoon,
Exactly. The pounds, the ounces, the
tablespoon.
teaspoons, tablespoons, all of those are the units of measure, right? And so we might have to convert these to make it make sense. So let's take a look at this. All right. We may have to find what's called the equivalent, right? And so the equivalent, we know, means it's something, a unit of measure that's equal to another. The same way that 4 quarters are equivalent to a single dollar bill. It's a different representation, but it means the same thing. Y'all with
Mhm.
me? Tracking?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can find one of these equivalent charts that's on the screen anywhere. You can just Google equivalent chart or look, some cookbooks will have them in there. And you can find them anywhere. So it's easy to find out what unit of measure is equivalent to another. And then you'll start to memorize some of them. When you start converting recipes and costing recipes, you'll start to figure some of these out where they'll stick in your head. Okay. So here, 4 simple steps to find the cost of one brownie for our fictitious bake sale. Okay. Our fictitious bake sale. Find the cost of one brownie. Step 1, you want to find the unit cost of each ingredient of our recipe in ounces. All right. Or in grams or in pounds. You want to make them all the same if you can. Okay. Step 2, multiply the unit cost in ounces by the number of ounces in the recipe for each ingredient. Okay. So we find out how much each ingredient is in our unit of measure that we decide. And when you're baking, some people like to be as precise as possible, which would be in grams. Okay. Or you could do ounces, right? And then you multiply the cost of each one of those, okay, in ounces for each ingredient. Then you add it all up together. You add it all up to find the cost of all the ingredients together. And then you divide the total cost that you just found by adding all those ingredients up by the yield. And we said the yield is what again? I'm a teacher. I need y'all to talk to me.
Oh,
What's the yield of a recipe?
the
Six brownies.
standardized ingredient. Is that what it is?
How many that you
Standardized
can
recipe?
produce?
The
Oh.
yield is the number of servings you can produce. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So once you find how much it costs for every single ingredient all together, we know that's for 96 in this example, right? But we want to know the cost of one. So then we want to divide that total cost by the yield, which is 96, just to find the cost of one brownie. So I know if it costs $1 to make, which is an expensive brownie, but let's just say if it costs $1 to make, I absolutely would not sell it for $1. Right? If it costs $2 to make, I'm not going to sell it for $2.15 because I'm only going to make 15 cents per brownie. Right? And so that's why it's important to understand your costs, because you don't really know where to start with what to charge if you don't know how much it costs to make the item. All right. So let's look at this a little closer. All right. So these same ingredients we just looked at. All right. The chocolate, the butter, the eggs, the sugar, vanilla, flour, baking soda, the nuts. All right. I want to figure out the cost. All right. So if I know butter is $2.50 per pound, right? I want to find out how much it is per ounce. And
That's some cheap butter.
this is an old recipe example.
Oh, okay. I wish.
Right.
Excuse me.
So, bless.
Excuse me. Thank you.
So I'm gonna divide that cost per pound by 16. Why would I divide by 16?
To get 1 ounce,
Because there's how many ounces in a pound?
16.
Yeah. So it's $2.50 per pound. There's 16 ounces in a pound. So if I divide that $2.50 by 16, now I know this is how much it costs per ounce. About 15 cents. That makes sense?
Right.
So you want to do that for every single ingredient. Every single ingredient. Find out how much it costs by your unit of measure, whether that's an ounce or a gram or a pound or whatever unit of measure it is. Find out how much it costs for 1 unit of measure. In this case, we're using ounces. So we do that for every single thing. And now I have the price per ounce for chocolate, butter, eggs, sugar, vanilla, flour, every single thing. Y'all with me so far?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions so far before we move to the next step? I'll take that silence as a no. Okay. All right. So we found out the price per ounce for every single ingredient. Now's the fun part. Okay. Now we need to multiply that cost by the number of ounces that are present in each ingredient. But in order to do that, I might need to find some equivalents, right? Because the chocolate's pretty easy.
Sugar chart.
Right, the equivalent chart, right? Go back to that guy. The equivalent chart, super helpful with this. Okay. So, oh wait, I skipped to the answer. I'm moving too fast. All right. So in order to do that, I might have to, if it says I need 1.5 pounds of butter, 1.5 pounds, I need to understand how much that is in ounces. Okay. And then once I understand how much that is in ounces, and remember, I know there's 16 ounces in a pound, right? So 1.5 pounds would be 24.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then I multiply that by the price that we just found.
Mm-hmm.
We said butter was 15 cents, right? So now I'm going to multiply that 15. And if you keep it long, you can. Some people round up, some people don't. That's a personal preference. Okay. But you want to be pretty as accurate as possible. So if I multiply that by 24 ounces, now I know the butter for this recipe to make 96 brownies cost me $3.75. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I do that same conversion, if you will, for each ingredient. Some of them are a little bit trickier than others. If it's 1 pound of something, that's easy. Boom, 16 ounces. If it's 2 tablespoons of something, now I'm like, ooh, how many ounces for a tablespoon? La, la, la. You got to do that. Remember the equivalents. But it's a quick, easy, either have an equivalent chart or Google it. I love Google. Okay. Oh, how many ounces in a teaspoon? So I told you it might be an occasional fraction. Okay. So 1.5 teaspoons is the same as saying 1/4 of an ounce. Okay. So you do that for every single ingredient. And then you add them up. So I do it for everything. I add them up. Now I know the total cost of the recipe to make 96 brownies for every single ingredient is $30.44. Add them all together. Okay. Once I add them all together, what do I do to find the cost of 1 brownie now?
Divide.
Very good, class. Y'all got it. All right, what do I divide by?
In this
96?
case,
Is it
96.
96?
Yep, yep.
Whatever the yield is of the recipe. All right. So
Mm-hmm.
so I'm picking on you, Shauna, now. Do you
Please don't.
understand? You understand why we need to create some recipes?
Yes, I
Okay.
understand.
Okay.
Mm,
Okay. We need to create some recipes so we can get to the true cost of what you're spending. Okay.
right.
So once you do all that, we know it's $30.44, divide by 96, right? So the cost per portion is 31 cents. 31 cents. So I feel, you take that information and do what you will. You decide how much profit you want to make. And that's a
Mhm.
conversation for
We might
another
need to put
day.
some brownies on the menu. No, I'm just playing.
So that's
Real,
that's how much you were selling for?
this is how much it costs me to make.
To make
Oh,
96 brownies is $30.
It's $30 to make
okay.
96 brownies. To make one brownie, the portion of for one is
One
31
is
cents.
okay.
So if I turn around and sell that bad boy for $2, boom. A little quick subtraction, you see your profit. $2 minus 31 cents, that's how much you made.
Right.
Right? So you decide what you want your profit margin to be, but you have to have this information first to see if it makes sense for your life. Right? I would not charge 50 cents for a brownie if it cost me 31 cents to make because it's not worth the energy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But now I know
Mm-hmm.
because I know how much it costs. Right? And then if you turn around somebody be like, "Oh, let me get it for a quarter." No, sir. Because now I'm paying you to eat the brownie. If I
Right.
charge, and that's an exaggerated example, but if you don't understand your cost, that could happen. You know what I mean? Like you end up paying somebody to eat your food because just they're taking money out of your pocket if you don't charge enough.
So
That
what
makes
would you charge for a 31-cent brownie? You know my general rule I live by.
who me?
Yeah.
All right, let's
Or
see.
Shauna. We've talked about costing things, and for every dollar you spend, what you would want to bring back in roughly. So if your brownie costs you 31 cents to make, how much would you roughly charge for it, in your opinion?
You said through a penny?
In your opinion,
Oh, in my opinion,
Minimum. What would you charge?
175.
I'm not mad at that.
I'm not mad at it either, but where'd you get your number from?
So I know she said you want to have the profit.
Hmm.
So I kind of just threw it out there because I knew it
Here's
would profit. I don't have my calculator. I'm
here's
not
my
mathing.
my thing. Here's my thing, and that's an excellent question that you threw out. My thing is this: if you pick a number out of the sky, I'd rather you pick a number out of the sky after you know how much it costs you to make
Right.
it. People pick numbers out of the sky with no idea how much it costs.
Right.
I don't know if you're talking to us, but you're on mute. But they pick numbers, okay. They pick numbers out of the sky and don't even know how much it costs them to make the product. So if you look at the cost and be like, I feel comfortable, it costs me 31 cents to make. I feel comfortable charging $1.75. I'm okay with that. There is a formula for food costs, which we could talk about on the next conversation. We're gonna take it step by step. But generally anywhere, 25, 30, 33, 35%, is kind of the
Mhm.
sweet pocket. Um, but you can't even run that formula until you know how
Hmm.
much it costs you to make,
Hmm.
right? So you can't even get there without first, number one, standardized recipe, then number two, how much does it cost me to make one portion of this standardized recipe, right?
Right.
So if the cost of wings goes up, oh yes, yesterday a case of wings was, I'm going to use a very exaggerated number. Yesterday a case of wings was $40. Today a case of wings is $60. Your menu price needs to change immediately. immediately. Yeah, because your cost changes. But if you don't know, like, oh, I mean, I felt like 10 wings, $10, yeah, dollar per wing.
Right. Right.
Well, okay, well, what is it, $1 per wing? You gotta count the wings, you gotta count the sauce you put on it. We were just talking off camera about if we're gonna flour it or have it
Mm-hmm.
naked, right? That's money too.
Naked would be probably cheaper.
Yeah, because you don't have to worry about the flour and seasoning the flour and all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But all of that counts. All of that counts. And it comes first from the recipe. So when I start hounding you, Shauna, and any future clients who may be watching this about a recipe, is because that's where the whole conversation of cost begins. And past clients, you know who you are watching this, that you still haven't written your recipes yet. You will remain nameless, but you know who you are. Still don't have no recipe.
It's
You don't.
understandable, but it still be, my stuff still tastes the same way. I understand what you're saying about other people, but what about the seasoning part? Like
It's a
And
couple.
that's all. That's all with the flick of the wrist now. Now, how, now how I'm supposed to, how I'm supposed to get measure that out and get it right?
So it's a couple ways you can approach that. So one way you can approach that is to have a seasoning blend, right? And that will take a couple tries, because yes, you let the ancestors guide you and just kind of be like, oh yeah, a little more onion powder, a little more garlic, a little more. But
Right.
you can create a blend where you put all of the components you like to use together, and then so somebody else, like, even if you're like, no, I'm gonna make the blend to make sure it's right, but then somebody else can come and just scoop one cup of seasoning blend inside, or a quarter cup or whatever, right? As far as costing, you can cost every single individual seasoning, or you could do something that they call a spice factor, which could be, let's say, like 1% of your total cost, right? So you can add up, well, this much for salt, this much for pepper, this much for onion powder, this much for granulated garlic, or you could just say, listen, I'm not about to add all that up. 1% covers it, right? But as far as the recipe is concerned, it takes time. It takes time to be, and I had to learn that when I became a teacher, because you can't necessarily teach somebody what a pinch is, because your pinch is different from my pinch, and your dash is different from my dash,
Right.
right? So, but I can say 1 teaspoon, or I can say 1 ounce. So I had to literally stop, slow down, make the recipe very slowly, step by step, season it, measure it, stop, write it down, or put a note in my phone, weigh it, put it in, that tastes right, note in my phone, and then go back and do a recipe step by step by step. And it's tedious, but you just have to do it one time. One time. Once you got it, that's it.
you can multiply it for bigger
Yeah.
yields, divide it for smaller yields. You'll have all the numbers you need as a
Yep.
jump off point.
Right.
It is tedious. It is. But you also have to think about how much it empowers you. You might have to go, you might be sick one day. And you're like, man, I know the truck need to be out making money, but I just can't. I can't get out the bed. So you're supposed to close your business down because you're the only one who know how to season the chicken or the fish or you know what I'm saying? So it empowers you to be like, yo, niece, yo, employee, future employee, here go the recipe book. You here go the keys. Make it happen. Call me if you need me. I'm about to lay down. You know what I mean? And I'm not wishing sickness on you. It could be anything. It could be something good. I'm going on vacation. I've been working hard. We've been making all this money. I've been busting my butt. I'm taking me a couple of days off. You might want to go on you a little cruise. Sis is a fan of the cruise. You might want to go, you might want to do you a staycation and go get a hotel room and chill out. But you can't, you're handcuffed to the business if you're the only one who can make the food. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It makes a
So
lot of sense.
it's not just about the costing, it's also about empowering you to be a leader in your business and delegate some things to other people. Not saying it won't take time to train them. Not saying you just give them a recipe and walk away. You might still need to come behind them and be like, let's taste this together. Like, let's see if it's right. It might take a couple tries. Or nope, do this a little different, do that a little different. But if you take that time and energy to put into creating your recipe, training your people, you empower yourself to be able to walk away and not be stressed out. They got the keys, they got the recipe book, they got my number, I'm out. They can call me if they need me. These big corporate restaurants, you don't see the owners in there. Like, oh, if I don't make the tacos, it ain't gonna get made. No, they off somewhere counting their money. You better grab the iPad with the recipe on it or grab the recipe book. Right. And so that's growth as well. You can't have more than one location and not burn yourself all the way out without having those standard operating procedures. Anyway, I'll go on and on and on and on and on. So let me just put a pin in that. Any questions about anything related to costing? Other than, do I really have to?
Was it on my face?
A little bit. Just take your time with it. Take your time with it. One thing at a time. You don't have to do every single thing you ever made in life all in one day. Like maybe that's like, I'm gonna cost one thing per week.
Start with your bestseller. So you can make sure you have an appropriate cost for that item.
Yeah.
Move on from there.
Okay.
All right. And if you need help, you can put somebody in your house to work. Like, hey, grab this notepad while I make this egg roll and write down with everything I tell you. And get recruit somebody to help you out with it. But it's important. It's important for understanding how much to charge, and also important for, again, empowering you to be able to step away if you need to or want to, and step away, or even also to expand. Right? You might say, I want to get 2, 3, 4, 5 food trucks. You can't be 5 places at one time. If you figure out how to do that, please tell me. You can't be on 5 food trucks at one time. Right? And so you have to figure out, okay, how can I empower a supervisor, a manager, an employee, a team member to be able to recreate this dish without me? All right. So again, I could go on and on and on, but I won't. That's all that I have.
Delegate more, work less. Each more,
work real good.
Yeah.
Boss moves right there. Boss moves. For those watching at home, thank you for tuning in to the Hospitality Hacks Pro show. We talk about stuff like this again weekly. If you're interested in joining our weekly call, shoot me a message. We'll see if you qualify to join our weekly call. You get to spend time with us every Wednesday night. We talk about different topics related to, again, culinary arts and hospitality, how to fine-tune our business, how to grow and expand our business. And we're here to help and support one another and get to this money together. It's all about sharing knowledge. It's all about the group think tank. We are stronger together than we are apart. Thank y'all for tuning in. If you have a specific question or comment related to food costing, anything we've discussed, or potentially becoming a future client, our client list is not open right now, but it will be very soon. So if you're interested in potentially becoming a future client and seeing if we can potentially help your business, make sure you hit us up. And you can follow me at Hospitality Hacks Pro on IG. And you can find our website at hospitalityhackspro.com. No pro. Hospitalityhacks.com is the new thing. Hospitalityhacks.com. All right. And if it's nothing else from y'all, make sure y'all go follow Shauna. Shauna, I'm gonna put your information in the description box. So if anybody is in North Carolina, Charlotte area, wants to come get a taste, tell them what you serve. You didn't even really do no. I gotta put you back on the spot because you didn't even really do no good commercial. Matter of fact, I'm taking myself out the picture. I'm taking sis out the picture. Tell them what you cooking up over there.
So what I do is I specialize in different type egg rolls. My bestseller is a strawberry cheesecake egg rolls. Next would be my Philly cheesesteak. I do a buffalo chicken. I do a seafood with crab and shrimp. Also do twice baked potatoes. That's really good. And just like some wings, chili cheese dogs, and stuff like that. It's not a lot.
Mhm. Yeah, you knew I wasn't about to let you off the hook without saying something about the food. Nah. All right, all right, all right. But that's it for this show. Thank y'all for tuning in. I just wanted to give y'all a little quick sneak peek. And we'll talk to y'all on the flip side. We out,
All right.
y'all.